Welcome to the Giants Nation Show, player profiles and projections. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, the Football Grump. And today, we're going to take a look at Malik Nabers and Abdul Carter. Malik Nabers, 6 foot, 200 pounds, 22-year-old star wide receiver, enters year two as a bona fide star for the New York Giants. I said star twice in one sentence. They got a guy, Grump. The Giants need guys that we can argue about where they rank in the top five at their spot, and Malik Nabers was that off rip.
Malik Nabers comes with the pedigree of being from LSU also in a time where the best receivers in the NFL came out of LSU. So all of that kind of wrapped into it, and he lived up to the hype last year. I think for the most part is everything that you could have asked for, except wins.
Yeah, the only things that we didn't get out of Malik Nabers, there is a what to get better at segment in this, but in the grand scheme of things, really the only things that we didn't get to see out of Malik Nabers were out of his control, which I think were touchdown catches and then 20+ yard catches down the field, which we're going to get into all that. But as a rookie, in 15 games, so he missed 2 games. He had 109 catches, 1,204 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 11 yards per catch. The first 1,000-yard receiving season for a Giants player since 2018. The most yards for a Giants wide receiver since Odell in 2016 in one less game. Broke the Giants franchise record for catches by Steve Smith. Most receptions for a rookie in NFL history until Brock Bowers broke it. Most receiving touchdowns for a Giants player since Darius Slayton had 8 in 2019. As a rookie, he was 5th in the NFL in receptions, 3rd for wide receivers, 7th in yards, and 6th yards per game, and 21st in touchdowns. He's an all-pro level player on a team that only has 2 players that have been named to that all-pro, and Andrew Thomas and Dexter Lawrence. I mean, he's a top 3, maybe even top 2 player on the team as a rookie.
I do think that some of those stats from last year are skewed in a weird way. For starters, he was the entire offense for a majority of the season. He was absolutely force-fed. He was targeted 10 times or more in 8 games out of 15. And I think also at a certain point, the offense became seriously limited. His average depth of target dropped to 9.7. Some games were really, really low at 4.8, etc. And if there is something that he kind of the only portion where he didn't live up to the hype, it would see like drops in critical moments. And
yeah, that's another part of the. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but I mean, I think towards the end of the season is where you started to see Malik Nabers really kind of slip away from just making a great catch for a touchdown or making a great catch along the sideline. Those games at the end of the year against like Indianapolis, like catching breaking tackles, slipping through, and then running for like 45 yards. The long receptions started happening towards the end of the year. Really started, and it's not like the offense was getting better or anything like that. The quarterback play was never really good, but it really was starting to hit the tubes towards the end of the year. The games became kind of fodder for a while. And it looked like he was getting more and more comfortable and better, in my opinion, as the year went on.
Yeah, I mean, again, he was force-fed, but guess what? The Giants haven't force-fed anybody like that because they hadn't had a guy like that, like Malik Nabers, where you can force-feed him and you're not, not every touch is this big quality touch, but, he's creating the yards out of it. Like, he's able to get the ball when everyone knows he's going to get the ball. So the more and more you open up this offense, I don't think you're going to see his yards go down. I think his yards are going to go up. The only thing I can see going down is his receptions. And that's talking about going from, 109 to, 99 or whatever, and him having more yards and having 13.5 to 15 yards per catch. He is an all-pro player. I think his year 2 will be much better in Giants fans' eyes because, the NFL will kind of look at him like, yep, another great year for Malik. But in Giants fans' eyes, I think we're going to have a much better year 2. Because they have a quarterback who is going to push the ball down the field and do it well, and a quarterback who's going to look to get his primary target. And guess what? Malik Nabers is going to be his primary target. He's going to be respected more deep as well, too, where doubles are still going to come, but they're going to come over the top, And guess what? They're not going to be doubles on inside help as much, right? Those will be there, which is going to create more yak. Like he should have more touchdowns. I think we're going to create just a much not create. He already is that player. The things that he needs to get better, like you said, he doesn't have this huge drop problem, right? His drop rate is not high. You get targeted that much, you're going to have, drops. It's just like you said, critical moments, like that Commanders Week 2 game. He dominated that game. He's the only reason they were in that game. But he's just like, hey, just don't drop that pass, and you end up winning it. If you drop a pass in the second quarter, like it just is different, right? Not every drop is created equal. And then we'll talk about some of the technical things that I think he can improve on as we go, because I think he's that level of player where you do need to be more nitpicky on them. Like you just got to expect more and more greatness. It's not just being great. It's we're now talking about what level of greatness can you be? Can you be Justin Jefferson or are you CeeDee Lamb? Right? CeeDee Lamb is sick, worth this huge contract, but Justin Jefferson is a better player than CeeDee Lamb. So it's just, but again, it's no matter who the quarterback is for the New York Giants his entire career, he's going to get a lot of catches, he's going to get a lot of yards, and he's going to be the number one target. Like that's just always going to be the case with Malik.
I think whatever anomaly or difference in statistics that happened this year to last year, whether it's a dip in targets, a dip in receptions, or a dip in yards, or an increase in yards, whatever those things are, I think the quality of what we see from him is going to look better. Like I was saying before, like I don't think he's going to have nearly as many like forced screens or things like that. I think we're going to see a lot more wide receiver routes down the middle of the field. I think that it's going to look a lot more like an NFL offense. It's going to look more like what Dable wants out of an offense.
Yeah, and it just, I think the more...
You're muted, my friend.
Shabalagoo. It's first time with this headset mic I ever kept myself muted. It's just, there's going to be just more quality in what you get. And I think it comes down to a little bit of the deep passes. Last year, the fourth most deep targets, but he had the 22nd most deep catches. And he was 36 out of 41 receivers and deep catch rate at 24%. So that's really bad, right? But that to me is I think people can overblame QB play on everything. That is a solely on QB play. Because guess what? He was open and he was missed. With better QB play, and at least with Russell Wilson, how much of an upgrade are the Giants getting? That's up to debate. What they are getting a clear upgrade in is deep passing. And Jones and Locke just simply missed. There's 38 quarterbacks last year and deep completion rate who qualified. Daniel Jones was 35th. Drew Lock was 38th. So they're gonna get more of those targets, and so it's not only gonna help Malik that now he's gonna have more deep catches, but I think the more he does that, just the more it opens up for all the other regular routes, right? It's just and the way, not even with double help, but the way the corner is playing here, where we are gonna play a little more off, and those curl routes are. We joked about him under Jason Garrett, and it bothered me. But like a curl route can be your best friend, because if you're respected all which way, that's a very simple and easy route. That if you're getting the right respect and you know how to run it well, that's a third and long converter right there.
And he's also a put the ball in his hands kind of player too. I mean, when the ball's in his hands and he's in the open field, he's going to shake and dance and break tackles and run through guys and stuff like that. So a curl route where he can just kind of catch the ball, turn around, and just make something happen. Like we saw a couple times during the year, he just puts his foot in the ground and just pounces in the opposite direction and can just separate. So you're absolutely right. So even something as simple as a curl route. And I also think that like you were saying with those deep throws, I mean, some of those statistically were like end of game prayers into double and triple coverage, end of half double and triple coverage, just some of the dumbest and ugliest throws affecting his deep passer stuff. And this is obviously not like a quarterback PPP or anything like that, but was Tim Boyle the best at actually finding Nabers down the field of all the Giants quarterbacks last year? He might have been.
He did have that slot fade touchdown, so don't...
Mute it again, man. Strike it out.
This is not good. This is my mute completion rate is really bad. Yeah, but don't disrespect Tim Boyle now. Let's relax on that. So with Nabers, the things he needs to improve. So you mentioned the drops thing, right? The ninth most in the NFL with 8. Now, again, the most targeted receivers in the NFL are going to lead the league in drops. Out of the top 43 wide receivers in targets, he had the 15th highest drop rate, though. So it's not a nothing issue as someone can make it out. And again, the big ones are the killers. They beat the Commanders week 2 if he doesn't drop the ball at that game. But he actually did get better as as the season went along last year. He had 5 drops in the first 7 games. He only had 3 in the last 8. So that is something that he got better at. Here's the thing that I really want him to improve on, right? We talk about the deep stuff. That's not his fault. The drops, I think there'll be times where they come and times where they go. Get lined up. Get lined up. Like that. This is a great player who I'll always respect having on my team. But the one thing is, get lined up and be on time. Not talking about being on time, so like the building, but like be on time with your routes in critical moments. Darius Slayton was having to tell him where to line up all the time. He had the 5 illegal shifts, which was the most in the NFL. And with that 5 being the most in the NFL, the second most was 2. And it was only by 2 players, right? So there's 3 players that had more than 1 in the NFL. Malik Nabers was one of those 3, and he had more than second and third place combined. And not only were they 5-yard penalties, they took, they took big plays off the board, right? There was, a one versus the Ravens with Tim Boyle that hit him on an out route. Hell, the Falcons game alone, he took 2 20-plus yard plays off the board with those illegal shifts and led to a Drew Lock pick 6 against the Falcons because of one of those. So, like, that one was even declined because they turned into a pick 6. So that is the thing. And again, just on money, 3rd and 4th downs, be where you're supposed to be. Because, I did a breakdown of the Panthers game, and everyone's like, oh, throw the Neighbors on the slant. It's like, Neighbors not getting out of his break here, right? He's taking way too much time into this, and it's just not open yet because he hasn't made that break yet, and he's just spending too much time at the top. So that's a little bit of a lesser one and thing that get refined with wide receiver. But we can't do like that's like the illegal procedure not getting lined up, like that's bullshit stuff. And I would hope that coaching is really drilling that in and not just being like, well, this is our star player. Well, he gets away with stuff like that. I hope that's not the approach the Giants are taking.
No, it better not be. And listen, that's some Malik Nabers' issue, and that's something that he needs to get better at. He needs to know, he needs to understand, and needs to, get the offense in his head like second nature, like the back of his hand. But that being said, I do think that for him, one of the biggest things that will help is having more of a vocal leader at quarterback with guys like Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson in the huddle. I'm not sure how much. I think that that's going to help. You know what I mean? Getting him prepared and understanding and just getting that communication. Like I really think that that's going to assist him. It's still on him. He's going to have to figure that out. But I do think that little bit will help. And also it's like once not that Daniel Jones was great at that or anything like that. I also don't think he was awful at it. We've seen instances where Jones was pretty good at getting the offensive line all set and stuff like that when Nick Gates broke his leg against the Commanders all those years ago, etc. But I
did not think we were going to get a Nick Gates broken leg reference on this episode.
I thought that was one of Daniel Jones's most where he really looked like a leader, and it's such an anomaly moment in his career. But I think that a lot of that stuff is being ironed out like right now. Jameis Winston is very vocal. There's a great clip about him, I need your eyes, whatever from this training camp. And I think that once Daniel Jones went out and it became just a hodgepodge of whatever at quarterback for the end of the year, it's not like it was ever going to get any better in the huddle or in the locker room or anything like that. Like everything got discombobulated. Structure and leadership around him is going to help him, I think.
Agreed. And be winners. That's the way you keep wide receivers in line is by winning. And the great ones. Like as much as you need to be responsible for your own shit, win games, and it takes care of a lot of issues. And the way I'm a winner, body armor. This player, actually, you know what? Hold on. Over under 1,300 yards. We did this for over under, so you better stay true to what you said.
I don't remember what I said. I think I said under, and I'm gonna go with it still. Yeah,
I said over, and you know why? Because I got the confidence of body armor. This episode is brought to you by Body Armor Sports Drink. Rewrite your routine and choose better with Body Armor. Body Armor is real hydration with electrolytes, coconut water, and no artificial dyes. flavors or sweeteners with great tasting flavors like strawberry banana in my hand right now. And orange mango. Body Armor will level up your hydration game. Grab Body Armor Sports Drink today at your local grocery store. Body Armor. Choose better. You'll be glad you did. All right, Grump, the last time me and you talked about this guy in depth, it was our draft recap, our first round recap. And that is Abdul Carter, 6'3", 250-pound, number 3 overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. He's playing edge, and guess what? His first year at that position was just domination in college football. He had 12 sacks and 24 tackles for a loss. He wins around the edge. He wins with explosion laterally. He wins with his hands and pass rush moves. He is a dominator. He is a game wrecker, and I cannot wait to see him play Giants football. I just cannot wait to see him wear that blue number 51 and make a play and then pretend he's strangling somebody afterwards.
I am so excited. I wasn't really sure. I'm still not sure what to expect in 2025 for Abdul Carter. I do think that in terms of his career, the sky's the limit, and we'll get into all of that. But the easy comparison is Micah Parsons for a variety of reasons. But Micah Parsons' rookie year, he got to walk into like a Dan Quinn defense that was pretty stacked, an offense that puts points on the other side of it too, makes playing defense so much easier. It's not really a one-to-one comparison. Abdul Carter was only playing edge for the first time last year. But that being said, what little has transpired in training camp thus far has me so amped. I knew I was going to like what I saw, but actually seeing it now, it fills me with joy. I cannot wait to see him terrorize quarterbacks.
It's just so hard to take like it's just so hard to block an Abdul Carter. And I was talking about this the other day with him. And Micah Parsons is the comparison for him. I don't care that it's so lazy. Number 11, Penn State played stack. Nope, that's literally a coincidence. And when you talk about a guy like Micah Parsons, it's certainly there are probably some better players in the NFL at that spot. Myles Garrett being one, but when you got a guy who just has a three-way go, and within that freeway go of outside, through you, or inside, and he needs to get better at the through you. He's not a dominant player there, but he can get some speed to power stuff when he gets you on your heels, and I think he will grow as that. And you have 5 different moves that you can work on each of those, inside and outside, and you have that bend and that twitch. It's just beautiful to watch, and it makes it's a mental chess game with the offensive tackle. I mean, he wins around the edge. He is so damn sudden. He's explosive off the ball. He works laterally so well. His closing speed on the quarterback and ball carrier is out of this world. I think that's an underrated attribute we talk about with pass rushers is how do they close in on the ball. You can line them up all over the place. There is some negatives that we'll go through in his game, but he is just a freak athlete.
Yeah, one of the things, he doesn't have what you consider traditionally bend, where it's like guys like Brian Burns or like even DeMarcus Ware, where they're like almost completely horizontal to the ground as they bend the edge. He doesn't really work that way, but he's so that little shoulder dip that he does, where it's not even like a bend. It's just that it happens so fast that I think it throws tackles off. They miss their punch, and he's just able to just like squirt his way around them. One thing that I do think, well, I mean, we'll save that for a minute. But why don't you talk to us about like some areas where he needs to get a little bit better?
No, let's talk about the good things, and then we'll talk about the areas he needs to get better. Again, like with rookies, a lot of times I'll go back and just like read some of the draft write up on him. And with Carter, I mean, I guess this wasn't, but like here is it for Carter, right? We mentioned the 12 sacks and 24 tackles for loss. Freaky athlete who transitions from stack to edge in 2024. Speed and explosiveness is great and sets up everything for him. Lateral quickness is unmatched and makes plays for him. Great bend and dip, but can lose balance at times. Ability to transition creates nightmares. Suddenness to slow play and go messes with offensive alignment pass sets. Will slow play at the top of the rush to freeze an offensive alignment and then win the corner. Great ability to string moves together. Works swat, spin, ghost, hezzy, rip. Doesn't have great play strength once connected with offensive linemen. Just needs to add power into his game / use speed to power. Disruptor in the run game overall. Will pull overzealous run blockers to shed. Great instincts taking on move blockers. Will get moved off the spot on doubles and doesn't squeeze offensive linemen down. Gives you stand-up A, B gap snaps as a rusher, spy, and coverage. I mean that's an A+. He was the best player in the draft. Like, if we will regrade that in 2 years or whatever, but like he was the best player in the draft for me. And I know it was like kind of one person. Some people would have Hunter and somebody have Carter, and I've certainly went back and forth on that with other draft classes or guys at the top of a position. I kind of never wavered on that. Like, it was always Abdul Carter over Travis Hunter for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm notorious for not really loving drafting corners in general, so it was a little bit easier for me. I think that in a couple of years we might have a discussion about Cam Ward, possibly just based on the positional value.
I'm just talking about overall just player, not even talking about positional value.
Right, yeah, and I completely agree. I mean, the way he's able to win in so many different ways, and just ask you this question as a guy who played offensive line. You have, let's just say you're a coach, you're an offensive coordinator, and you have an average right tackle. What is your method to stop him on the edge? The only thing I can think of is to just double team him.
Yeah, it's an extra set of hands.
Only thing.
That is the only thing. It's an extra set of hands. That's it. That is the only. If you have a bad tackle, that is the only way. And Abdul Carter is the type of player where I think early on we'll see when he's facing elite tackles who know how to get, like there may be some slow games, but the issue with Abdul Carter is that if you got a below average tackle, your life's going to suck. He's going to terrorize you, and he can terrorize the entire offense with that. Because again, like the elite tackles, if you don't have that big power element, that's what they'll kind of invite you to do. Even though you may get a win here and there against those guys, they're just going to be like consistent, like, the way you're going to have to beat me is through power. And until you can show that consistently, that's what I'm going to give you. And that's why a guy like Myles Garrett is the best player, on defense, is because he does have all of that. It's why he's the only guy who's like giving Andrew Thomas a legitimately just bad game in 4 years. But you get, and again, it's not even just bad play. I think you can put an average tackle on him, he's going to terrorize him, right? We've seen a little bit in training camp with Jermaine Illuminor. Like, he's terrorized Jermaine Illuminor in camp. His 22.6 pass rush win rate was just amazing. That's like a good bit higher than both Kayvon and Brian Burns coming out of college. And I really think he has room to grow. Like, he is new to the position, but it's even with that, dude, it's just so much he has down where it's just his hands always land in the right place. He strings moves together so well. He takes 3 moves and makes them look like one, where some guys just like 1, 2, 3 with the cards like I just tried to explain that through audio, but he just strings things together so well that, even watching him warm up, it's like, this is kind of fun to watch.
And now I'll add in one more element where he further terrorizes offenses. He doesn't have to stay on the edge. I think he is going to line up all over the place and to be involved in twists and stunts. Like, we've seen some wacky stuff where he's got like spin moves coming through up against guards and stuff like that. It's just absolutely freezing guys in their place. I think that if there is a weak spot on the offensive line, he can be schemed to take advantage of it.
Oh, absolutely. And within the Giants personnel, this is something we talked about in our draft night stuff, is just imagine being a center. And there's not a lot of great centers in the NFL, but imagine you're a center and you put your head up to snap the ball, and guess who's to your right? Dexter Lawrence. That sucks. That really sucks. Guess who's to your left? Abdul Carter. Set a protection. Seriously, set a protection against that. You're going to have to put your running back right behind the center and put your tight end right behind the center and just hope that you can do it, and then force your protection to leave Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau one-on-one. Now, I don't really want him in those spots a ton in first and second down. I want that stuff more limited to third down. I don't want him playing regular linebacker except for a couple of snaps per game within the Giants defense. I don't want him dropping back in coverage outside of disguised looks. which is a part of that. I don't want him even playing QB spy. I don't want him playing QB spy. I want him going after the quarterback, not trying to stop the quarterback. Because the only time you're going to do that is against elite rushing quarterbacks like Lamar or Daniels. And as much as I love Abdul Carter, if we're getting one-on-one in the open field, I'm taking those guys over Carter. So it's the verse. It's just he needs to be going forward. Limit again. You got to put him backwards sometimes, right? You got to keep the offenses honest with their schemes, but going forward on the edge on first and second down. When you get passing downs, put him on the inside and let him take advantage of those matchups. Because and we'll talk about his negatives. If you're putting him on in those spots on first and second down, now you are actually talking about something offenses can take advantage of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at times going up against the run is where he's going to be a little bit taken advantage of, where he can overrun things and misread plays in the backfield as well.
Yeah, let's talk about the run game, because that's where I actually think the biggest negative for Abdul Carter is not the run game overall, because he's going to be such a disruptor. I think it's more just we want more speed to power pass rush moves. Not going to be our main thing, but just want more speed to power pass rush moves. But in the run game, will he get moved by a double team? Yes. Yep. And there's going to be some one-on-one blocks where he gets moved. But I don't think he's going to be this guy who's just like, man, the run defense sucks because of him. Because guess what? 24 tackles for a loss last year. That's going to matter. He's also brand new to the position, right? Where he wasn't playing directly with offensive linemen, so he's going to get better at that. You get a leaning tackle too in that run game. Guess what? He's going to dump them and put them on their face because of that. If you pull at him, I even saw this in practice. You see it in games where you'll pull at him. He'll start outside, convert inside, rip, take on the other blocker, and then play the running back off of it and make it look so quick. So it's just hard to pull at him. Now again, he is not going to set a great edge. I don't think that's ever going to be a huge part of his game. But what he can do is win quickly and shed those blocks, which I think he's going to do a lot in the NFL.
I think the trouble is going to be, do the Giants put him on the field on 3rd and 4? You know what I mean? Like somewhere where you could legitimately run for a first down.
Yeah, that is the weakness with Abdul Carter, and that's where you can see some issues. And again, that's when we're sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but like that's where we just talked with Malik Nabers of deciphering him between the Justin Jeffersons and CeeDee Lambs. But with Carter, I just think that's where we're going to be deciphering him between the Nick Bosa's and the Micah Parsons of the world.
No, I completely agree. And that's where he's going to have to show that step up. And again, like, I'm not trying to be like, well, he's going to have to improve on this. This is dude's second year in the system, and he's making in the system at the position, and he's making a jump from, Big Ten play to the NFL and the NFC East. So, yeah, I mean, it's just something I'm going to be watching for. And if the Giants even trust to put him on the field in that scenario, because they don't really have to, with the personnel that they have. So that's certainly something that I'm going to keep an eye out for, and where they trust him. And it might be one of those things where maybe that's not where he's on the edge. Maybe that's where they have him standing up in the A gap, and they have Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau on the outside and Dexter Lawrence in the middle, or something like that.
Or you could take Micah McFadden off the field. That I don't want to claim stack linebacker a lot, but that is a part of the time where you can use him like that, where it's like, all right, get downhill, play regular linebacker. He's certainly got the size and strength to do that. And if it's a pass rush, well, we designed this as a blitz anyway. Stuff like that. So there is ways to work around it, because he's that type of player. All right. Anything else on Abdul Carter? I kind of hate to end this. I can't wait till his player profile episode next year. We're going to talk about his pro film and stats.
Abdul Carter, sacks on the year. What do you think?
11.
I went 9.
Okay. Give him that double digit, damn it.
I want to. I'm a little worried. I don't know why I'm worried about this, but I have this weird feeling that he's going to have a couple like late hit penalties this year.
Don't say
that are going to be like, those ones where every fan of the team is like, it's bullshit. But you know what I mean? It's, I don't know. It's different than college. Quarterbacks get rid of the ball. The internal clocks are a little bit better than college at the NFL level, and he might just be a tick late. And I think also it's one of those things when you're really, really good, referees are ready to throw flags. So
I think that there's going to be at minimum 2 games that give him like 4.5, 5 sacks total. Right, whether it's a 2.5 and a 2, or a 3 and a 2, or a 3.5 and a. So then I think he'll be able to get to that double-digit number through the rest of the 15 games of the year.
I think he might have a slow start. I mean, it's a tough sledding for the Giants to begin the year anyway, but there's some pretty good tackle groups to start the year to go against.
I want him to get a sack on Lane Johnson so bad and just to go on a shit talk fest. There's one player I want to see him get a sack on, it's Lane Johnson.
I completely agree.
And then Jordan Mailata and make his ass cry again. All right, 30-plus minute player profile. Ain't complaining about this one being that long. We will see you guys tomorrow. Until then, let's go Big Blue.